Hello, everyone, and welcome to our What's Going On segment on Swag Her Media. Hello, I am your host, Chris Natha DeRozier, a certified life coach, author, and speaker. So, as you join us, say hello in the chat. Let us know where you're tuning in from. And tonight we are sitting down with the amazing Amanda Wilson. Now, Amanda is like, oh my goodness, she's a motivational speaker, she's an author, she's an advocate, but most importantly, she's a mom. And so we just chat
Yay.
with her, talk to her about her journey, and just learn so much more about the incredible work that she does. Welcome, Amanda.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here. Thank you so much.
Awesome. No, my pleasure. Super excited to have you with us tonight. And I know this might be like a complex question, but if you could, in your own words, tell us, who is Amanda?
Oh, Amanda is, like you mentioned, a mother, first and foremost. One of my most important roles is being a mom, and an advocate, a supporter. You mentioned I'm an author, a founder of a nonprofit, and just an overall person who lives the best life, showing up as the best person I can each and every day. So um, that's really who I am in a nutshell. Just trying to be the best that I can be and show up to serve in the best way possible each and every day.
I love that so much. And I know you guys can see it too, Amanda. You obviously are just glowing and you have like this inner light that's shining through the screen. And so where does that come from?
Thank you.
Just inner
Uh,
light, your love, energy, where does that come from?
I I I genuinely think I know it's really the inner light from my faith and my God, really. So first and foremost, I believe it's that wholeheartedly, and ultimately, I believe it is just what He has given me um, to move through this world. Like, it hasn't been an easy journey, and I am fully um, believe that my journey is just, I'm a vessel to His mercy and His grace, and the things that I have experienced are really to be a light for Him, to shine upon others. So really, I mean, there's no other explanation for me to have lived through and experienced and been able to really share what I have experienced in my life with others if it wasn't for Him bringing me through. So really, truly, the light is really His grace just shining through me to be a light for others, to walk through this path.
That's so awesome. And I just want you to know it's very evident. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank
Um,
you.
so to lead into our next question, you have had a very long career in public service. So when did that spark first take place for you where you said, I want to help others? I want to be a servant.
Okay, so good question. I grew up definitely in not the easiest ways. A lot of trauma, a lot of abuse. If anyone's familiar with ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, I am definitely a 10. I have experienced every adverse childhood experience that, impacts us as we grow. So moving into adulthood, I knew that I needed to get an education. I didn't know how I would do that other than going to the military. I was introduced to the military. You can get a GI grant and go to college. So I'm like, I know there's no other way I can pay for college unless I do the military. And I had a desire to, shoot guns legally and get into some dirt and do things that I love to do, but wanted a more disciplined lifestyle. So I went into the military right in my senior year in high school, and I actually got an honorable medical discharge from the military. After that, I was like, what am I going to do? I know I want to go to college. So I made my way through going to community college first. And I didn't know what I wanted to major in. Again, my mind was, I was going to be in the military. I was going to retire in the military. And so I randomly picked psychology class because, I met with a guidance counselor and they were like, okay, take this psychology class. And my very first psychology class, I realized, it was talking about human behavior and why people do the things that they do. And it was like a light bulb for me in my life growing up with my mom and the situations and the way that she was. And I was like, oh my God, this stuff is so interesting. And it really gave me insight as to why I did the things that I was doing and what my behaviors were about. And I was like, oh gosh, I really am intrigued by this and I want to learn more and I want to move forward with helping people because now I know why people do the things that they do. And so that's really what I went into college with. Like, psychology is so interesting and I have no idea what I want to do in the world, but I am interested in this. And so that led me to doing an internship with the Department of Juvenile Justice when I was in college. And then when I graduated, I thought, because again, I came from pretty much not much, so I didn't have familial history or familial funds really to lead me to college. I had student loans. I had to get my own career. Many of us in my generation, first time going to college and things like that. So I'm like, I wanted to get a career with the state of Florida. I went to school in Florida because I heard they had great benefits. And when I did my internship, that's all my person who supervised me, my internship supervisor, talked about, like the great benefits with the Department of Juvenile Justice and what that looked like. So I was like, all right, I'm signing up for a state job. And I was really trying to find a Department of Juvenile Justice to be a probation officer position. But every time I interviewed, I was like this really petite, thin, like frail looking young lady going into these interviews to be a probation officer, and they kind of singled me out every single time. And as I was looking for state jobs, I actually came across the child protective investigator position with the Department of Children and Families. And it described you as basically saving children's lives, which you do. And it described, the type of children or the types of homes that you would be saving these kids from. And I was like, oh my God, that's me. Those are the kids, like that's me saving me from when I was younger. Like, this is my dream job. I would love to do this. So of course I applied and I got an interview, and I definitely thought they were not going to hire me because, again, I walked in and there was a 3-person panel, one of them being a man. And he's like, do you think you can take children from their parents? Looking at you, kind of like looking at you, like, could you pick up a child and take them out of their home? Like, I'm looking all timid and everything. And I'm like, of course. And so I just knew I wasn't going to get the position. And it was, I lived in, for anyone who's familiar with the state, I lived in Daytona, Florida, which is where I graduated from Bethune-Cookman. And it was like an hour and a half to Kissimmee, which is where I interviewed. And I was like, really, really wanting this position in Central Florida. But I left discouraged, and sure enough, they called me back and offered me the position. I was so excited, and it just seemed like it fit me for who I was to, help children that were in my situation when I was younger, to get out of the situation. And I did. And that's when I started. I started right after college in 2005, and I'm still with the Department of Children and Families, helping children and families. It's almost 20 years for me. In a few weeks, it'll be 19 years. So that's how it started, and that's how it remains. And I still have the passion to help families, which is, kind of led me to where I am today, which has developed and evolved, but it's still, I'm not going into homes investigating abuse anymore. I've definitely grown with the department in the last 20 years, but I still support children and families, and I'm still with the department. And then, my nonprofit has evolved, and what I've done since have all centered around really helping children, families, in the community.
That is so awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. Just a background about that, because it helps us better understand who you are, like you shared at the beginning. And like you stated earlier, you've had some things happen in your past, but just to see that you're able to use that, something that once, just caused a lot of pain, now to be able to almost pay it forward, really,
Yeah.
to the families that you get to serve. So that is wonderful.
Yeah. Thank
And
you.
can you tell us, absolutely, can you tell us more about your nonprofit, Be Like Mike Foundation? Tell us more about it,
Yeah.
the mission behind it, and who it serves.
Yep. So it's the Be Like Ike Foundation.
Be Like Ike. I apologize.
Yep. It's in honor of my husband, Ike. His name was Isaiah and his nickname was Ike Wilson, and he unfortunately died from cancer 3 years ago, almost exactly on June 3rd, 2021. He fought a long battle of cancer from 2014. And he was a coach, a mentor, a community advocate. He was a teacher. We actually met. We did not meet at work. We met in graduate school, but he also had the same career path as I did with the Department of Children and Families. So when I met him, he too was a child protective investigator. And so just really a community servant, served children and families as well. And so when he died, as a family, we thought that we didn't want that his legacy to ever be forgotten, and what he did for the community and what he did for children and what he did in the educational space. So, and we took a long time not a long time, but we were very intentional with what we wanted to do with all of his belongings and, the things that he left behind. And so it really came to me after I took his clothes. It was really his dress clothes, because he had a ton of clothes, which I've made blankets and different things for our family members. But when I took his dress clothes to the male mentorship, he was over a male mentorship program in one of the high schools that he served. And when I dropped them off, I just thought, this shouldn't have to end. It shouldn't have to end that what he has done and his belongings or his things or his legacy just stop. So I, spoke with the children about ways we can continue. And, I thought, hey, do you think it would be feasible, I guess, to start a nonprofit? And then that's kind of how it was born. And so the nonprofit is serving coaches, educators, and children in the well-being and educational space. So we support getting children engaged in sports and educating them on wellness. We do an annual college scholarship for high school graduates. So I'm very excited. This will be our third year, because we kicked off in 2022, 1 year after he passed. It was the kickoff celebration to the foundation, and we gave our first scholarship that year, and it's grown. So last year was year 2, and then this year will be the third year. We're actually doing it in a few weeks, early July. So it's grown every year, and we're just incredibly blessed and grateful as to what we've been able to do as a grassroots small nonprofit. So far, we've given scholarships to children to engage in sports. We've given scholarships to educators, because I know how it is as a spouse of an educator and a coach. So much time, effort, energy, money, resources goes into what you do. Those educators and coaches and those who are in that space and care for children, they give so much and sacrifice so much of their self, their families, and everything. So it's my desire to continue to support them, because I know how much they sacrifice. So that is what the foundation is about. So we've given educator scholarships as well. We've hosted, partnered with locally the Orlando Magic to sell tickets to Teacher Appreciation Night. And then we gifted teachers to go to the Orlando Magic game, things like that, that just show we've given back to school, given sponsorships to back to school events. There's a big one in our county where the local chamber of commerce supports a breakfast for the teachers to go back to school. So we've sponsored things like that. So we just give back where we can, and it's fulfilling, and it continues his legacy.
That is wonderful. Definitely want to offer our condolences. And it's so wonderful that his legacy lives on, and you can bless so many educators, as coaches, and the community as well. So that is great work. So that's wonderful.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And, so everybody who's tuning in, we mentioned at the very beginning that Amanda is also an incredible motivational speaker, and you're going to have an opportunity to hear her speak this week, actually. She's going to be speaking at Swaghurst Juneteenth virtual event.
Yep.
So you guys have to make sure you tune in. 5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern. And Amanda, can you tell us, can you just share like a sneak peek of the topic you're going to be covering at that event?
Sure. So the event, if you have not heard, is about freeing yourself. So my particular topic will be freeing yourself from trauma or the things that have held you back. So don't let those things from the past or even the present hold you back anymore. Free yourself. You are free to be who you need to be and who God created you to be. So I'm very excited and looking forward to that for sure.
Awesome. I look forward to hearing you share about freeing yourself, guys. It's going to be so powerful, everybody. So make sure that you are tuning in on Wednesday, June 19th for our virtual Juneteenth event. Again, 5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern. Amanda's information is in the chat. Her Instagram, her website. Please follow and connect with her. She is amazing, as you just heard. So as we bring our segment to a close, Amanda, is there anything else you'd like to share with us? Anything that you're working on, or just anything you'd like to share in general?
Something that I'm working on that I'm just venturing into that I'm really excited about is the You Can Soar in Widowhood. So I'm embracing my widowhood journey. I remember very early on, I actually didn't know if I even wanted to reference myself as a widow because it just seemed so negative and scary. And I was still a 38-year-old widow, so it wasn't something that I embraced. But I am fully open to receive God's blessings on my life and open to walking in my assignment and know my calling. And so I have embraced working with my widow community and supporting. I know that I do have my light and my gift for a reason, and being a widow is a big part of my journey. And I'm going to host my very first widow retreat this weekend, actually. And it's just a work of love. And so I'm excited about it. It's funny because I just came across a journal entry that I wrote last July, and it was like, I'm going to host a widow retreat, and it's going to be near International Widows Day, which is this Sunday, and it's going to be this weekend. And it's almost exactly what I wrote in my journal, just kind of manifesting what it's going to be, down to the speakers who were, by the way, I did not know them. I just kind of followed a couple of people on Instagram that were widows. And I was like, she's going to be here. She's going to be here. And it's going to go like this. And it's really turning out to be that way. So I'm super stoked about supporting that community and kind of moving into that space too. So that's one of the big things that I'm working on now, is supporting widows, and because it's definitely needed. There's not enough. and not enough education, not enough support. You'd be amazed at what goes on in widowhood, but I don't want to go on a tangent about that. So that's one thing that I'm very excited about, that I'm working on recently. And something to just leave with the audience is really all that I'm about and what I center everything around. And it's something that I talk about. It came to me back in 2018 in a dream when I so clearly heard God speak to me. I was having a nightmare, really. And he told me, "You can soar. Why don't you fly? You can soar." And I woke up because in the dream I was like falling off of a cliff. And so that stuck with me. And that's the title of my book, You Can Soar. And I just want to leave that with everyone. No matter what you're going through, your current condition is not your final circumstance. And you can soar beyond this. There's light on the other side of whatever may be happening. So that's what I got.
That is amazing. That's perfect. So thank you just for those words, because they really are encouraging. And Amanda, thank you just for having the courage to take everything that life throws at you and making sure that God gets the glory out of it. So I want to say thank you. That is so awesome to see.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you again for having me. And I look forward to speaking to all the guests on Wednesday.
Yes, and we look forward to hearing you guys. Thank you for tuning in and listening to our What's Going On segment with Amanda Wilson. And she will be speaking at our virtual Juneteenth event talking about freedom. So make sure you're there. God bless everybody. Good night. And Amanda, thank you again.
Thank you. Good night.